In this video, I will be showing how to do a lot of different things related to using a rotary device with your laser. You can either watch the whole video and follow along, or you can skip ahead to a specific point using the time markers I have here on the screen. I'll also put useful links and information in the description.
Here is a look at how the new rotary looks compared to the original. So you can see it's bigger. It's got a wider area that you can use as well. But overall, it looks like the same concept as the original, with the exception of the rotary that's going to go on this one. Just like with the original, if you're doing an object that is smaller than the distance between these two rollers, like this softball bat, you can see it doesn't fit. You can take the tool that comes with the kit, take out this bolt right here, and you can move it to the different positions. That positioning right there looks like it'd be perfect for this bat, but if I was doing something even skinnier, I can put it right there. So with that, you can see you can do super tiny objects. There you go. It's like this tiny dowel rod. I really love the versatility that you can get from this rotary. Now I want to show you the use for this little device right here. So let's say I was going to engrave something long, like this baseball bat. You can see there's nothing on that side to hold the bat up. So when it rolls, it's not going to be level, and it's also going to roll off and not give you a good engraving. So with this device here, you spin this knob and you get the right height for your support. This is a good place for using this level as well. So I can go to the area that's going to be engraved. Be sure you check your level at the area that will be engraved. So that's going to be different on all the different areas. And there we go. Now we are going to attempt to transform into the chuck style rotary. And there's instructions on how to do this in the pamphlet. So it looks like the first step is going to be using the 2mm Allen wrench. We're going to remove both bolts on the bottom side. You put these somewhere safe where you will not lose them. I think I'm going to utilize the little baggie, the baggie of bolts. I'm just going to add them in there. All right, next we can flip it over, and it says to lift up and pull out. It gets the roller out of there. And then step 4 shows you removing the set screw, and I probably don't have to remove that all the way, and don't forget there's going to be more than one. Yep, there it goes. So that pulled right out. I would probably recommend that, just tightening both of those up a little bit until they hit each other. And that way, when it's rolling, you won't lose those set screws. Some of the pieces from this kit here, I believe it's pointing to this pulley right here. Loosen the 2 set screws on this. And now I can put that on. You've got to get your set screws just in enough that you can fit it all the way in. On the underside, you'll see this little window cut out here. And that is a spot where you can get your Allen wrench in. And from that, you'll be able to tighten your set screws onto the shaft of the stepper motor. So remember, there's 2 of them. So I've tightened 1 set screw, and now I'm tightening the second one. Okay. And now we get to pull out the other box. And this box has the chuck and the belt. And to me, it looks like you're going to slide the belt over that pulley we just put on, and it's going to go right over the A and the B holes here, facing that direction. Now I'm going to get the bolts. Those will most likely be the longest bolts. Put my belt back on, line it up. I can feel it catching the hole now. Okay, that one is in. Grab the other one, and I'm just going to tighten those up. And now you can see from the motor, we now have movement on the chuck. It's very cool. This is called a chuck key. You'll find these on like drill presses or older hand drills. And that you stick into that hole there, and then you can turn it left or turn it right. This will tighten the jaws or loosen the jaws. Now it's talking about some of the accessories. These are double step jaw components. So with these, you can put them on here, and it'll give you more versatility for grabbing different materials. And they're made out of it's like a plastic, but it's got like a kind of a rubbery feel to it. I like that. So it's kind of grippy. Very nice. Don't throw away their packaging, because it's something that you'll end up using. I mean, you could find a drawer in your workshop and put all these pieces of foam into the drawer and have a nice home for all your components. So here is a look at different accessories that are included. So you've got these long prongs, you've got these different jaws, and of course you can also use it without those jaws as well. You can just use the jaws that are on here. Depends on what you're working with. I really love the versatility of this machine and all the different options you have with it. So let's go ahead and see how we would install these. So you just slide them right over and you'll see the holes will line up, and they even give you multiple hole positions on there. So again, just an extremely versatile tool. Okay, and this is where you're going to use the M10 bolts with the 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench. Tighten these, and they also give you the ability to put these on facing either direction. So again, depending on the material that you're working with, it really gives you a lot of versatility. Okay, so here we have the first attachment on there, and I really want to go grab a coffee mug or something for me to put in there. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. There it goes. Oh, make sure you take your chuck key out before you start turning. So this is where you would want the smaller jaws because that's too wide for there. Okay, so here you can see we have the jaws with the 3 different levels, and these work perfectly for this smaller lid size here. So I could use the laser to engrave along this rim right here, which is something that we wouldn't be able to do on the rollers. This is a good use case for the rotary chuck as well. Now I'm really excited to put these prongs on here because I feel like these may be the most versatile and kind of quick because you can put these in by hand without even using the tool. Alright, so with these you can see they're just like long prongs, and you have all these different choices here. So let's say if I was going to do like a ring, I can just go ahead and put that in the first hole on each one. And you can see how quick you don't have to use the tool. So here I've got one of my old wedding bands, metal. So I will tighten this down, and then once I get it tight enough or close enough together, the ring will slide in. And now that the ring is on there, I can loosen. I'm gonna have the outward pressure holding the ring in place. There it is. There you can see the ring will rotate, and the laser head can come down right here and engrave whatever message you want to put on there. Personalized engraved rings. That is a game changer right there. This is like a center rest. Slide this on these front rails here, and you can see that will support. And there's this little toggle clamp right here, and that'll hold that in place. So it gives you some extra support if you're working with a material that might need it. And that's on a bearing as well, so it spins super freely. You can rotate the chuck in either direction or put it on either side. So I'm just gonna show that. So you take out these 2 small ones. With that off, now you have the ability to turn it out in that direction. It says to engrave objects with handles, you can fit the base plate to the other side. A coffee cup, because if it was on here and it was rolling, the handle would hit the base plate if it was too wide. But with this, you could lift it up and put it on blocks to where the handle would spin freely. That's brilliant. They really did think of everything. So cool, let's go ahead and put it in that position then. All right, so I'm gonna show you can do this 2 ways. You can either open it all the way and grip the cup from the outside like this. And I do wanna show you that the weight of the cup is causing the rotary to pick up. Grab something with some weight behind it and put it on the back side there so that you don't have any rocking. You see the handle would hit and it wouldn't be able to do a full rotation. So to counteract that, satisfying. That's nice. Okay, I said I was going to show you 2 ways to hold this cup. So that is grabbing it from the outside, which is perfectly fine, but you can also come to the inside of the cup. I'll stick that on top of the prongs, and there it is. So you can see that handle is hitting. And again, really simple to fix that. Just grab some blocks of wood, and then you're good to spin. Awesome. All right. Now it's time to bring out the big guns and actually do some engraving. Looks like we're gonna need the feet extensions. So this is the leg extensions. We're gonna use these to raise the laser up. You just stick them together like this. And you can pop off these little rubber feeties and screw that into the bottom. Little feetie can go back on. Just like that. All right, now first thing, let's go ahead and get it plugged in. Now I want to show you that there are 2 different ends to the plug here. One has 4 prongs, or 4 holes, and the other has 6 holes. The side with 6 holes goes into the rotary, just like this. The side with 4 holes goes into the control board on the XTool, and that will go into this white plug right here. I have found when using the rotary chuck that this is the correct orientation for it to have everything engraved correctly. If you have it in this orientation, you might find out that your images are coming out mirrored or incorrectly. To get everything parallel with the laser head, I'll take a framing square, run that into the bottom edge of the rotary, and then pull the arm down until they make contact. Then I need to do the same thing on the other side of the rotary. And this ensures that everything is straight and parallel when you do your engravings. Now we're going to calibrate it over on LightBurn. Now if you don't have LightBurn, I highly recommend it, and if you're unsure, I believe they have a 30-day free trial that you can try out. Now to set up the rotary, we're going to click Tools over here in the top left corner, or you can hit Control-Shift-R. That's going to bring up this control panel right here. Now by default, it's probably going to be set to the roller, and this Enable Rotary is probably already turned off. So first thing, make sure you turn on your rotary. This will enable it, and then you're going to click Chuck. Now on the first value here where it says millimeters per rotation, XTool recommends that you put 128 millimeters per rotation. For rotary axis, you can have the Z-axis selected here. What's great about the XTool is you can leave the rotary plugged in for if you're using the rotary, or if you want to go back to engraving flat objects, you can just disable it. So it makes it really nice so that you don't have to put any unnecessary stresses on your cables. You can leave everything plugged in. Now the object diameter is something that you'll have to come in here and change every time depending on the object that you're using. So since we need to put in a diameter or a circumference, you can do either or. So let's find the circumference or diameter of our first object. I got a box of 12 tumblers like this off of Amazon, and they seem to be really nice quality, and they were the cheapest price I could find. So if you're interested, I'll be sure to have a link to these in the description below. All right, now let's find the circumference of where we're gonna engrave. So if we're gonna engrave in this top section here, that's where we need to measure. So I'm gonna take my tape measure and I'm gonna come around the cup. And here we can see measurement is right at 11 inches. Now this is the circumference. So now that we know that, we can go plug it in. So on the bottom here, this is where you can put in your circumference. Now mine is set to inches, so I'll put in 11 inches. But if you prefer using the metric system, that's something you can change in the settings. Now that I typed in 11 inches on the circumference, you can see that it also changed the diameter to 3.5. So if you don't want to measure the circumference, you can always use some digital calipers and you can measure the diameter of whatever you're working on if you prefer that. All right, now that's everything that we have to set on the computer. But again, if I was to change to a different object, I will have to come in here and change the circumference each time. Or even if I was to want to engrave on this area down here, I'll need to put in a new circumference. If I don't, my image will either be stretched out or it will be squished because the circumference would be set to this area up here, not that circumference down there. Over at the computer, I've got my first logo that I'm going to be engraving. So I'm just going to select that. Now I want to select the origin that I'm going to be using. Here are some important settings down here that you need to look at. First, Enable Rotary should already be turned on. If not, just click it. And this is also a quick shortcut that you can use for switching between using the rotary or not using the rotary. I really like to always keep the cut selected graphics turned on. This will just keep it from engraving everything on your workspace, and instead it will only cut what you have selected. This is also important. This says use selection origin. So that means this is where it's going to start from. So you can see right here, there's also a pull down that says start from, and you have some choices. You can either use absolute coordinates, user origin, or current position. When I'm using the rotary, I like to use current position. And then you see these little boxes or these little circles here. This is talking about the spot on the actual logo that it'll start from. So I want it to start from the top left so that I can get it placed correctly. Anytime I'm ever going to do any lasering, I always hit alternate or Alt P, and this will give me a preview of what the laser is going to do. And you can see you can scroll through it. This is how it will start, and it will go through like this. I always double check that because there's a lot of variables to laser engraving, and inevitably a lot of times you end up clicking the wrong thing. Now let's talk about my cut settings before we hit go. Now I did set my interval to a little bit lower to give it a higher quality image. I have it set to 0.075 millimeters. For the speed, I have it set to 25 millimeters. And for the power, I have it maxed out at 100. And also for the minimum power, I have it at 100. And I also have fill selected. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get it lined up on the cup, and then we can hit start. All right, over here on the cup, I'm just gonna lightly push it over with my hand and get it lined up with that rim. Now from that metal rim right there, I wanna move it down 1/4 of an inch. So on the computer, in the move tab, I'm gonna type in 0.25, and I'm gonna click the right arrow to move it over to the right 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to make that my starting point. Now the next thing I'm going to do on the computer is I'm going to press the frame button. We're going to go ahead and turn on the fans and get this engraving. Now I'm going to put this on a hyperlapse so you can see it in a little bit quicker speed. But again, this is going to take about 23 minutes to get this one completed, as you can see right here. And I'm going to take some water and a magic eraser and wipe off that residue. Looks pretty awesome. All right, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do an engraving down here on the bottom. So we're going to have to find the circumference of that. This time, let's take the diameter, just so I can show some different examples. So I've got my digital calipers. And again, I'll have a link to these digital calipers in the description below if this is something that you don't already have. I highly recommend getting digital calipers. I just want to be careful to not scratch the black. So we're at 2.9 inches down there on the bottom. Control-Shift-R. This time we're going to be typing in the diameter, and we said 2.9. And we also, again, have to make sure that our focal height is correct. So you bring that little arm down, and then you just make sure it is touching the highest point on the surface that you're engraving. Once that's set, line it up where you want to start. I'm going to find my top center. Should be right about there. Starting right where the silver ends, but I want to move it over 1/4 of an inch. So back on the computer, I'm on the move tab, and I've typed in 0.25. I'm going to move it to the left. I'm also going to select a new origin. Let's take a look at that on the computer just as a reminder. So this is the new thing I'm going to engrave. It says #MakeWhatYouFear. It's a challenge that we did on the podcast. And I'm going to pick a new origin. I'm going to do the bottom middle for my origin. I don't know if you can see that, but I clicked that right there. It says this will only take 2 minutes and 43 seconds, so much quicker than the last one. All right, that little hashtag band just finished up. Now I'm going to try to not move anything because I want to go ahead and do the rest of the cups. And it'll be a lot quicker and easier because I just pop them in and go. I'm liking it. Let's go ahead and make the rest of them. All right, I think I have a total of 12 cups, but I did mess up one of them when I was getting things set up earlier. As you can see, they come in a box like this. Nice bubble wrap. All right, I just finished up the second to last one because I wanted to show you how you can do the same thing that I'm doing here on the rotary chuck with just the roller chuck. And I also want to show you how you should calibrate that one because it's a little bit different than the chuck rotary as well. I am going to be using the older style roller, but again, you can transform this one back into the same style as this one, or you can keep it in the roller style. Just depends on what you want. And then I'm also going to use this leveling adjusting device right here on the bottom of it, since it's not a perfectly straight cup. This will also help me get my level. I also glued a magnet to my level so that I can keep it close by at all times. You can just put it right on your stepper motor. I'm going to bring down the height adjustment arm, set that to the top of the tumbler, tighten it up. So just like before, we can hit Control-Shift-R R, and this will bring up the rotary setup. So now I'll click the roller, and they have a different setting for this. For the roller, they recommend 32 millimeters, and the roller diameter is 17 millimeters. So we'll set this first one to 32, and then the roller diameter will be 17. Oh, that's set to inches. That's a problem.
17 millimeters is approximately 0.669 inches.
0.669 inches. So that's what I have on here.
One of the benefits to using the roller style is the measurement of your object is not necessary to input even when changing between different sized cylinders.
We need to move the roller over this way, or you can click that button on the rotary setup that says mirror output, and that would also fix that as well. All right, now I've got everything set, ready to go. Now this rolling should take 19 minutes.
I did run into an issue down on the bottom of the tumbler where the engraving on the bottom did come out less wide than the original 3 inches I had on the top of the tumbler. I believe I could have resolved this by rotating the cup so that the rollers would be making contact with the smaller diameter of the tumbler rather than the top of the cup. But I would love to hear your thoughts on that hypothesis as well. Here I decided to try using the dishwasher to clean the engravings off rather than the scrubbing method. It did okay, but I believe fine-tuning my power and speed settings or adding the XTool Air Assist could make for even cleaner looking engravings. If you are interested in seeing more about this machine and what else it can do, or some of the other things going on in my workshop, you should come check out some of the other videos I have on my channel over at Chad's Custom Creations. Thank you to my supporters, Kyle Hickson and Woodland Iron.